All right, everybody, welcome back to the Giants, guys. We're back on the air. This is John Fennelly, and I'm with Craig Santucci of nygiantsrush.com. Craig, how are you today?
I'm good, John. It's always a good day when the Giants guys are together talking football.
It is in May.
In May,
In
yes.
May, yes. And a beautiful day in May it is. The Giants just went through their rookie minicamp. We'll go through that. We'll go through some of the guys that worked out. We'll go through some of the draft picks. And we'll go through some Twitter questions.
Yep.
Easy for me to say. Twitter questions and comments that we get. And I get quite a number of them now. I had 70,000 impressions last week one day. I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, so the NY Giants Rush account, it gets a smattering of different types of people. I've been quite entertained with some of them, and some of them are just, I don't know where they come from. They're like aliens. The things they say. So
nygiantsrush.com. Why don't you give, at the beginning of the show, why don't you just give us a little rundown of what goes on that website?
Yeah, sure. So nygiantsrush.com. We are banging out, creative, new, original content all week long. There's usually 5 or 6 staff members roaming around. We try to send guys to camp to cover camp. We do original pieces. Once in a while, we get some decent interviews. But everything's original. We're not rehashing anything. We got a couple guys that are in the New York area, which we send to camp. And, we try to at least, give you some entertainment, and give you some new approaches on look. All our guys are pretty much, ex-athletes or season ticket holders or, involved with the team somehow. So NY Giants Rush, check out the different guys there. Follow them on Twitter. I think that we do a good job on the site, not slanting one way or the other, except for, we got one guy's a little crazy, but, I don't know.
That's not you.
That's not me. Exactly. Yeah, that's not me. I'm too far gone for help. But yeah, so nygiantsrush.com, original content, every week.
Excellent. And I've been writing for Giants Wire on USA Today. Been doing quite a number of pieces for them over the last few months. You should check that out. We get millions upon millions of page views a month. It's a really big operation now. One of the top sites on USA Today. Also, I never, ever promoted my book on this show.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Because it has nothing to do with football.
That's okay.
It's a book. My name is John Fennelly, just in case you don't know who I am. You might know. You might even know me personally. The name of the book, I don't know why I named the book this. Somebody suggested it. It's called Dirty White Boy. And it's about a kid in the 1970s who was a New York City schoolyard basketball legend. He becomes a legend, and then he becomes a legend in other walks of life as well. If you like gratuitous sex, drugs, and rock and roll, this is right up your alley. I actually enjoyed writing it, and I should have got a better editor. But, you go on Kindle, on Amazon for your Kindle, $2.99. It's worth it. Just get it. You have a few laughs. Some of it's really funny. Some of it's kind of sad. But if you remember New York in the 70s, you'll really dig this book. So, Dirty White Boy, if you get a chance, check it out. Thanks ahead of time for that. All right, so let's talk some Giants.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
There's plenty. First order of business. Where were we? Here we go. Transactions. Draft picks that were signed this week. 4th rounder, Julian Love. And the 2 7th rounders, Chris Slayton and George Asafo Ajayi. They're in the fold. The rest still negotiating. But everybody was able to participate in camp. Obviously, they're in shorts. Then they had their undrafted free agents that were signed. And I don't know if we want to go through all of those. I could refer back to them as we talk about
one specific one I'd like to talk about when we get through it.
Yeah. And then they signed 4 guys after the tryout. They had 49 guys trying out. They signed 4 guys. One of them's not even a football player. This kid by the name of Austin Drugsma from Florida State. He's a shot putter. He's 6'4", 350.
Wow.
And he never played. Well, he played football in high school. Did not play at Florida State. He was one of the top shot putters in the country, and he also threw discus at Florida State. So he's coming in as an offensive guard. So I guess he's strong. At 350, he's probably an immovable object, this guy.
I was going to say, if you're that big and you haven't played ball in 4 years, I'm guessing you're the size of a small van and you're really hard to move.
They signed him, so they must have saw something. So he's going to be in training camp, this guy.
He better start running now.
Well, like Brian Bulaga told me. He said, everybody was on him for his 5'2" or 5'3", 40-yard dash. He says, if I have to run 40 yards in a game, something went very wrong.
Yeah.
So, right. Big guys in 40-yard dashes, they really don't need them, because even on special teams, they're not going to run 40 yards.
No.
They're going to run 10 and block somebody.
Well, you hope they block someone. Yeah.
That's what you would like. That's the idea. They waived a couple of guys. There's a few guys here you may not even know. Ukeme Eligwe, who played a few downs last year because they were so thin at linebacker. Miles Humphrey, Jillian Ware, Jawill Davis got cut. He re-signed with the Packers almost right away. And Michael Hunter, who's been on and off the team for a couple of years. He's off now. He's off again. Let's talk about the rookie minicamp. I was not there personally, so I really can't attest with my own eyes. Guys running around in shorts, it's basically for the skill players and the interviews. You really don't, there's no contact or anything. They wear helmets. They don't wear any pads, so it's just shirts, shorts, and helmets.
Yeah, it's a little gelling for the new guys to get acclimated with the environment.
That's what we call half shells, right?
Yep.
Okay, shells would be shoulder pads, helmets, and no other pads, shorts. I guess that's shells. I don't know.
Well,
I get different explanations every time I look at.
Well, if you look at them now, John, they don't wear pads anyway.
Right. So, in practice, you're right.
No, I'm even in the game. You look, these guys don't wear thigh pads, knee pads. They don't wear any pads.
Isn't that a mystery to me and you? Who when we played when I played as a kid, you were all padded up.
Oh yeah. I was hitting everything that moved. I didn't want to. I needed pads. I'm not sure these guys. If you look, they're really lean and mean when it comes to additional pads.
Yeah, I don't know how they don't get hurt. Your knee hits the hard ground, man. That's gotta hurt.
Well, they also don't hit in practice.
I'm talking about in games.
Yeah, the games. You're right. Yep.
Guys don't have knee pads on. Nobody's wearing them.
So half the team doesn't wear thigh pads.
Yeah.
Take a helmet shot in the thigh.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yes, it does.
All right, so one of the draft picks, there's an issue going around, and I've gotten a lot of negative tweets and emails about the Corey Ballantyne situation. Corey Ballantyne was a 5th round draft pick. Was he 5th or 6th? I'm not sure. Of the Giants. He's out of what is it? The place in Topeka. Oh man, where is my head today? Well, Washburn University. He's a cornerback or a defensive back, and hours after he was drafted, he was shot, and his friend was shot, teammate and friend and roommate, and was murdered.
Correct.
And there was a lot of assumptions that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's a bad kid. He's this. He's that. He's not a bad kid. All right. By all accounts, this was a model player, model student, good kid. Just so happened to go to a party. There was a drive-by. His friend got shot. He was an innocent bystander as well, and it was just a terrible situation. It's still under investigation. Nobody really knows what happened. It's just one of those things. It's a Saturday night, whatever. Boom. There's gunplay, and that's a terrible situation. Welcome
He
to
was
America.
he was a 6th-round pick.
6th-round pick. So he wasn't at the minicamp, and there's reasons why he was still injured, obviously, and he went to his friend's funeral.
Yes, he did.
And there was Giants head people there, and there was also some media people there. One in particular writes for NJ.com, Ryan Dunleavy, and he wrote an excellent piece on Corey Ballantyne. I hope everybody gets a chance to read it on NJ.com. What a terrific piece. It's a really nice piece of journalism. It's a poignant piece. It's heart-wrenching, and it really drives home the point of what a good kid he is and what he's going through right now. So, and there's more to it than that, but if you can get that, get it. Go online and read that.
I'd also like to mention that former, all-star linebacker Jesse Armstead and strength and conditioning coach Ronnie Barnes also went to the funeral. So, the organization has been behind the kid from the beginning.
Right.
And, Ballantyne's dad was saying what a classy organization the Giants are, and they're really glad that, their son's playing there because they put football aside and they came to support him. And, kudos to the Giants for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I hope, I hope the kid makes it, and it's really nice to see, the organization stand by their player.
Yeah, I like that whole the way they handled it too. I mean, they always do stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of teams that do it. The Giants probably do it better than most, and it's just a sad situation. So eventually, we'll get to see Corey Ballantyne here in New York, and if he's as good as at the combine, he was coming from a small university. You don't expect a lot from a kid. He might be in over his head, but at the combine, he was, in the top half of all the corners when it came to numbers.
Yeah, I got his numbers right here.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.47 for a 40.
Mm-hmm.
He put up the 225 15 times. He had a vertical of 39.5. That's almost, 40 inches. He broad jumped 135, 6.8 in the cone drill. I mean, the kid can move.
Yes, he can. And
he's 5'11", 196 pounds. He's also got good size.
They're looking for special teams guys too. So, he's a guy that could start off on specials. Right now they have a jam-packed secondary, believe it or not.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of talent and a lot of depth right now in that secondary.
Yes, they filled the room, as we like to say.
They really did. I'd like to talk about that in a little bit, but let's just go through some of the other things in minicamp. The Daniel Jones comes out wearing number 8.
Love it.
He's not number 17, which would lead us to believe he looks like Dave Brown. We don't want that. So that's not going to be the case. Lauletta is still here. He's going to wear number 17. Jones is going to wear number 8.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, he was 17 in college, so 1 and 7 is 8, I guess.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a nice clean start.
And he looked good. He looked the part. He's very good in interviews. He's a lot like Eli in demeanor. He's a little more outgoing than that. But, very good with the media. It looked like he handled the huddles pretty good and all the instruction. Threw the ball very well. He looks like he's going to fool a lot of the people like me, who I didn't want him. Let's face it. I did not want them to draft Jones.
We were all on the same page that we wanted to take Josh Allen, but now that the kid's here, we got to embrace it.
I could have lived with it if they took him 17th or 30th, but not 6th. Because best case scenario is they have Allen and a guy like Sweat and then Jones 30th. That's best case scenario. Instead, you got Jones, you got Lawrence, who could be a star in his own right, and then DeAndre Baker, who could also be a star in his own right. You got a different dynamic there. Instead of having the big, tough pass rush guys, you have players at other positions. So it all depends. Like it all depends on what they were prioritizing. And I think they were prioritizing Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and they feel strongly, whether the listeners or you and I believe it, their philosophy or their take on the situation was that he wouldn't be there, whether we believe it or not. Like you and I have both said on numerous occasions on this podcast that we believed he'd be there at 17. They didn't believe he'd be there at 17, so they did what they thought was necessary.
It's all water under the bridge now.
Yep. Now he's wearing blue, so he's one of us.
Now comes the question: when does he get into the lineup?
2020.
Because if you're going to sit him this whole year,
yes.
All right. Let's say Eli has a good year, which he probably will.
Well, we don't know that, but I hear you.
Well, I think if you let him play, he's going to give you at least Eli's baseline numbers.
Okay.
All right. He's got a much better team around him than he did last year.
Baseline numbers is 20 touchdowns, 4,000 yards.
Yeah. Exactly. He's got more depth at receiver. He's in this offense for the second year. He's got a better offensive line.
Better offensive line, yep.
And he's got Saquon Barkley fully acclimated. And now the play calling is going to lean towards more of a balance because you don't have that person on offense anymore where you have to feed, where you have to aim the ball at every other play. So the offense is going to be more functional. And we saw that last year when that person was out, a person who will be unnamed.
Agreed.
We all know who I'm talking about. Not his fault.
Wait a minute.
When you have a player like that, you have to get him the ball.
Oh, no, it's not his fault he has the talent. It's his fault
Right.
He has a big mouth.
Well, he has other problems. But when he was on the field, I think the rest of the offense was dysfunctional. The whole offense was dysfunctional because you had a one-sided attack. All right. Instead of opening things up for other players, he kind of closed things down for other players, and that's the worst of both worlds. I just and in Cleveland, they're going to find out the hard way that there's still only one football.
Yep.
With all these guys they have, and
but
as soon as somebody doesn't get what they want, that's when it's going to blow up.
Well, Cleveland's always been a little dysfunctional, so it won't be anything new.
No, and they have a rookie head coach who has done nothing in his interviews except for deflect all the off-the-field nonsense already. That's the only thing he's been able to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's tone down the Super Bowl talk. This is a team that hasn't had a winning season since Eisenhower carried his own clubs. They weren't even a 500 team last year.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. Let's stay focused on your original assessment is keeping Jones on the bench till 2020.
I don't want to keep him on the
year.
bench. I want to play him because if he's going to be the quarterback going forward, let's get it on. When you draft a guy sixth, he's got to play. I'm sorry. He can't sit out the whole season.
But while I agree with that from a philosophy standpoint, nobody's putting a $20 million QB on the bench.
I know. So this is further evidence that they screwed up this first round.
Again, we can't change it, and we shouldn't beat it to death. But yes, it's when you
it is what it is.
Exactly, it is what it is now. So you got to be comfortable. Not just you, the listeners, the fan base, everyone. We just have to be comfortable with the fact that there is probably a 75% chance that Jones sits to 2020. Like just swallow your emotions now, because that is a very good chance that is the picture that's being painted.
Correct. And I don't like it, but what are you going to do? Eli, I'm going to go through my five takeaways from camp.
Okay,
And
bring
that's
it.
the first one. That Eli Manning has gotten the message. So one of two things is going to happen. He's going to either step aside gracefully, just like Kurt Warner did for him, or he's going to step up his game to the point where the kid can't get in the game.
I'm going with the latter.
Where the Giants will be absolutely ridiculously stupid to take him out if they're 7-0 or something, and he's throwing the ball all over the place.
He could be Brett Favre, and they're not going 7-0.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, if something out of the ordinary happens, and all of a sudden this franchise turns around because Eli had a little pressure on him, and now he's got a better team around him. It's very possible that the Giants are in contention, and they don't want to take him out.
So it's funny you say that, because this kind of comes full circle to the point that I've been making since December. It doesn't matter. I hate to say it, but it doesn't matter who's throwing the rock, because the defense is never going to allow you to be 5-2, 7-0. This defense is thin and new.
Let's talk about it. My second takeaway. After my takeaways, we can go through that, because that's really that's the biggest problem this team has.
Yeah, I didn't mean to derail you. My bad.
No, that's all right. Part of the defense, and of course Dexter Lawrence, since he's a first-round pick, also, he's going to have to play a lot in order for the Giants to have an effective defense this year. Now, the problem with him at 345 pounds and being a nose tackle is he's not supposed to be an every down lineman. He's supposed to be a 2-down lineman. And
why? You think he can play 3 plays?
Well, the Giants are saying he's going to, and he's saying he's going to. Now, whether or not he stays at nose tackle on every snap, that's the thing. He can play end.
What?
He says, I can play all 3 positions on the line.
I am not buying that for 1 second.
And the Giants say he can do it also.
Of course, they're not going to tell him he's not good. I mean, he's a new prospect that they just, not prospect, he's a new employee.
Just come out and say he's just going to be a nose tackle. He's just going to play interior.
Listen, after what I've heard Gettleman say and then watch what Gettleman does, I don't listen to any of it anymore.
Shermer is basically saying this.
You know what, and maybe, but I'm sorry. We'll record. We'll listen back to this. In 3, 4, 5 months. There's no shot that a guy that size is playing end. It's just he's not mobile enough to play defensive end in a 3-4. Why would they even do that?
He's pretty nimble for his size.
For his size,
right?
In the middle. On the end, he would be completely overmatched.
We'll find out.
Yeah, but
I'm just telling you what they're saying.
I know. And you know what?
And there's no way you could tell from minicamp because there's no contact.
No. But when's the last time a 340-pound guy played DN?
Not in my lifetime.
There you go.
So, we'll see. If they keep him on the field for 75% of the snaps, that'll be great. And he doesn't get completely gassed. He's 340, 345, but he doesn't look it.
No, I got that.
Because he's like 6'4". I mean, he does look it, but I mean, he just doesn't. He's not like a fat guy. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
He doesn't look like Vince Wilfork. I know.
Right. He has a different body shape, and it looks like he's a powerful guy. If you looked at the combine, he bench pressed the most. I think he had 37, and he could have gone more than that. He just threw the weights around. This guy, he's really strong.
He kind of reminds me of, and I'm dating myself here a little bit. Not in talent, because Dexter Lawrence is more talented than this guy, but you were talking about his body structure. Remember Eric Dorsey?
Eric Dorsey was an end, though.
That's why I was bringing it up. That they're probably thinking he's tall enough to play some end. I can't see it, but that's what Dorsey did. Dorsey played inside and outside.
Well, they're going to play packages, and I think that he's going to get a chance to stay on the field more. And if he does, then he was worth a first-round pick. If he's a 2-down player, he's not worth a first-round pick. Do you agree with that?
Agreed.
So this is why they're saying that, and maybe it may not end up because they do have a lot of linemen now, a lot of defensive linemen. Maybe it doesn't. He ends up not playing 3 downs, and if he doesn't, then it wasn't worth the pick. But he can rush the passer up the middle, and I'm sure he can tangle with tackles as well. So
Yeah.
let's just see how it works out. I don't really believe them either, but let's see how it works out.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a case to be made that he plays in the middle for 60% of his snaps, 70% of his snaps,
and then jumps outside.
And then they put him outside in the package. Yeah,
right.
Like I'm not saying the guy can't do it. I'm saying like there's no way the guy splits time outside and inside.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense because then he doesn't get any consistency.
Yeah, but I could see a package or two bringing him outside. Why not?
And I think Betcher is just going to be doing a lot of mixing and matching. It's a really interesting defense. Which brings me to my next guy, the X-Man, O'Shane Ximenez.
Yep.
From Old Dominion, the first player ever picked out of Old Dominion.
Yep, correct.
He's about 6'4", 255. He's got a good move. He's an edge rusher. They really expect a lot out of him. I think the last time we talked, he was playing the same position as Carter, Lorenzo Carter. Now I see they may have him on the other side of the field. So if they could have those two guys on the field at the same time, that would be good because you can rush from either end. He's another guy they really need him to play more than less once he gets acclimated. He just can't be a part-time pass rusher, and they're saying he's not.
No, there's something, I don't know what it is. I really liked his demeanor. I really liked, again, yeah, we've had some success with Strahan and OCU Manure coming from small schools, so it may work in his advantage. I think he's got the work ethic, and he definitely has the demeanor for New York. He's got a great smile. He seems like he's having fun,
Yeah.
If he could pull it off, him and Carter could do some damage on the outside.
And don't forget they have Marcus Golden too. So
Which I'm leaving that to see it to believe it because he's been non-existent for 2 years. So
he had an injury.
Yep.
So that kind of knocked him out of one season, and then last year they went to a 4-3, and he can't play in the 4-3.
No.
All right, that's not his deal. He's an outside linebacker in a 3-4, and that's what they're going to put. That's where they're going to put him. So now you have 3 guys to play 2 positions. You also have Kareem Martin, who could also play there. So you got a little depth. I'm just saying you don't have great players there, but you got 4 pretty decent players there, and some of them are ascending. Carter is an ascending player, right?
100%. The kid can play.
Ximenez, we don't know yet, but hopefully he's an ascending player. So, that's good news. So we'll talk about that when we get to our questions. People are asking about linebackers, so we'll get to that question also. The other thing, and it was the young secondary guys, DeAndre Baker.
Is this the take on the fifth take on camp?
No, this is the fourth.
Fourth, my bad.
I think I have one more. Yeah, I have one more of this. Julian Love from Notre Dame, a 4th-round pick. Probably should have been a 2nd-round pick. DeAndre Baker would have fallen out of the 1st round if the Giants didn't trade up and get him. And that was another pet peeve I had because I think they could have waited to get him. But
yeah, it was like 6 or 7 picks later, right?
Yeah. They were supposed to pick 37th. They got him at 30.
I think
the two of those guys right there, I think, could end up being starters.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Love, Baker, and Beal.
I think Beal is the guy that's going to be behind the 8 ball here. He's going to be depth. There is no way. I haven't seen Sam Beal play. Neither has anybody else, so don't let them kid you. Because when he got here last year, he practiced once, and they put him on IR. Maybe twice. And it wasn't in pads. So, he had a shoulder injury, a pre-existing shoulder injury. He went right out. They put him right on IR. So nobody's really seen what he could do. But these two guys are top-notch safeties.
Corners.
Corners. And Love could even play safety if they needed. That's how good he is. He can play multiple positions. Baker is a cover corner. He's one of those Darrelle Revis types. I don't like to throw names around, but yeah, he is.
They've been talking very highly of him.
Yeah, he is a shutdown corner. And you put Jenkins on one side, him on the other, and then you just have packages. If you put Love in the slot, you have three very good safe cornerbacks out in your secondary. And that's not even counting Beal or Haley or this kid Ballantyne we're talking about, or Michael Thomas or Jabril Peppers. Right? So you have a lot of talent in that secondary. It could be a game changer. You could get coverage sacks out of that.
It's a long time coming, by the way.
Yeah, I see coverage sacks.
Yeah, it's because there's no pass rush.
Well, there will be a pass rush. It's a team effort, the pass rush.
If Carter, continues to grow like he did last year, and our boy from ODU, and Golden's got something left in the tank, it can't be any worse than it was last year. How's that?
Right. No, last year was a disaster. See some of the guys they had on the field in weeks 15, 16, 17? Man, they didn't even belong in the NFL, some of these guys.
And I'm not so sure they still are.
No, a lot of them are gone. All right, the last observation I had from Minicamp was the type of players they're bringing in. Like we just talked about this guy, Drugsma, who was a shot putter. They brought in the Syracuse quarterback, Eric Dungy.
Oh, that's the guy I wanted to talk about.
Okay, and Dungy, he could throw the ball. I mean, it's not at an NFL level, I don't think, he's not Daniel Jones, but he's basically a scrambler. And if they ever run the Wildcat, this guy's perfect for it. And he's big, too.
So I just wrote a piece on Monday on NY Giants Rush about Dungy. And from what Shermer is talking about is he was watching, the playoffs and some tape of the Saints. And
right.
If you're not familiar with the Saints, they've got a player by the name of Taysom Hill, who is considered a backup quarterback, a tight end, a wide receiver. He blocks punts. He receives kicks. He runs the Wildcat.
So when he comes into the huddle, the defense doesn't know what role he's going to play.
Exactly. And I think, according to what Shermer was saying, is that he thinks Eric Dungy, who's was the quarterback at Syracuse, can compete on that level. Big, strong kid. I mean, think about these stats. Dungy he collected 11,000 yards at Syracuse, between passing and running. And I mean, those numbers were only duplicated in the ACC by Phillip Rivers, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson. So that puts him in an elite group. Now, it doesn't mean that he's Daniel Jones, but what it does mean is that if Shermer thinks that he could compete on this Taysom Hill level, now you've got a guy who can, run the Wildcat, come in for which we know, quarterback sneak, which the Giants do not do, with Eli. This guy can come in and get you a first down. He can block a punt. He could play tight end. He can run Wildcat. I mean, and run the read option. So I really like that they brought this kid in, bringing a new kind of element to the Giants offense. And they told him, hey, look, we're going to let you play some quarterback. So his quote was, I'm kind of putting my nose down. Right now it's a job and I'm trying to make a name for myself. He's 6'4", 226. It could be a really nice wrinkle for the Giants.
Yeah, and somebody said to me, oh, who are they going to cut? I said, I don't really care. Who do they have?
Tanny.
Who do they really have that you're in love with? Nobody. Well,
No,
Letta,
well,
not so much. Tanny is, what has he ever done? Nothing.
no, yeah, Tanny would go.
And, Eli, this is probably his last year. I mean, it's hard to predict because every time we talk about Eli, you have to rethink it and say, well, maybe the plan is to push him. Maybe the plan is to extend him, because he's healthy. I mean, it's not a health thing with him. And if he has a good year, are you going to re-sign him? Or if he's having a good year, do you go to him halfway through the season and say, how about an extension? You don't know. You don't know what the Giants are thinking because I don't think they really know.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see what they do with their quarterbacks. I mean, they have on the roster Dungy is listed as a tight end. And I'm just looking at his stats.
Although he's never played tight end, and they've said he's not going to.
Yeah, exactly. So and it's interesting because when you look at his Syracuse stats, you're looking at 9,340 yards, 58 touchdowns, and then on top of it, he rushed for 2,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. I mean, that's almost 100 touchdowns. In fact, it is 100 touchdowns.
I know.
I mean, so this kid has athletic ability. You just need to find where to put him. And I'm sure it's been bittersweet for him because on the day he signs with the Giants, his dad finds out that he has cancer. So, I know. It's probably a very bittersweet day for the Dungy family. Our prayers go out to them, and
That's sad.
Yeah. So I'm rooting for the kid, wholeheartedly. And like you said, he may be listed as a tight end, but I think Shermer's got the right idea about bringing some new wrinkles in and getting the offense to be more dynamic.
Yeah, I like the whole premise of this. I think it's great.
And that Taysom Hill guy from the Saints, I mean, he's the real deal. He does everything.
Yeah, but when that happens, Taysom Hill comes in. I don't. Drew Brees doesn't always go out. Sometimes Drew Brees takes the snap, but
yep.
If Drew, and sometimes he lines up as a receiver, Drew Brees. I mean, it's just kind of silly. But to take the ball out of Drew Brees' hands, I mean, that takes a little guts too.
Yeah, well, that's Sean Payton for you. He's willing to gamble with a guy trying to get a first down. He'll give the ball to Hill, who's twice the size of Brees, and it seems to work. So,
yeah, we'll see if the Giants even keep this kid. We don't even know. They went out of their way to sign him. Shermer went after him. He says, I would like to bring this guy in.
Yes.
And they did, He's not your traditional pocket passer, but is this a game where you need a traditional pocket passer? In the NFL these days? No, you don't.
Well, if you're looking at the body of work of Taysom Hill, I mean, you're looking at giving the guy 9 snaps a game in some form or fashion. If they can find 2 at tight end and 2 at running back and, 3-4 on special teams, it could be worth it. It might save you a game.
You're right. We'll see as training camp goes on. I mean, there's minicamp first, and then with the veterans next month, and then there's going to be training camp at the end of July, and there's a couple other players I just want to talk about, and then we'll move on to the next step, next stage of our show.
Are any of those players tight end C.J. Conrad?
No, as a matter of fact, they're not.
Okay.
And we could talk about him if you want, but let me go through my guys first.
Sure. Go ahead.
I like Conrad. Is he Jones's roommate? Yeah, I think he's Jones's roommate.
And the only reason why I don't really have too much to say about Conrad, he's a Kentucky product. I only brought it up because the talk around camp was Jones was throwing him a ton of balls all week, and the kid can catch, and all of a sudden there was some chemistry out of nowhere, which could spell, trouble for Simonson.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they'll keep 4 tight ends. They could. It's definitely Garrett Dickerson is definitely on the bubble. He's on the bubble anyway, but.
Yeah, and again, I only brought it up because the kid steps into Giants blue. You see who he's throwing to, and the two people that stood out was Reggie White Jr. from Monmouth and C.J. Conrad from Kentucky.
Right.
If they got chemistry with the backup quarterback, soon to be starting quarterback, those guys have a better chance of making it than not.
Yeah, no, that's. I like him. I think he's here for a reason, but we'll see.
Go ahead, go with your list.
There's a defensive back, Mark McLaurin from Mississippi State, who could also play safety and linebacker.
You like him?
Yeah, he went undrafted, and I'm kind of wondering why, but we're going to find out if he can play or not. I know he's been all SEC at one point in his career. He weighs 215 pounds, so he can play a little bit bigger than some of the other defensive backs. Also special teams. Of course, Ryan Conley, who we had talked about, the kid from Wisconsin. Is he going to be earmarked as a special teamer, or is he going to actually get to play some snaps on defense? He's one of those overachievers that just keeps getting better every year, every time he hits the field.
I think that's a great way to explain it. Overachiever who just doesn't seem to disappoint.
Yeah, he's the kid that doesn't shy away from the action, and he's smart. And his cousin plays for the Islanders, Anders Lee. That's why my brother Jimmy likes him. He's a big Islanders fan.
Okay. Yeah, and it's funny how you get a football player with a cousin playing hockey, right?
Yeah, it's weird because I thought Anders Lee was not an American.
All right.
I thought he was like a Swede or something,
Well, you never know who his dad's brother's married to, right?
Yeah, you don't know. But he's one guy that interests me, Conley. I can't wait to see him play. If he gets in there, he can cover. He can play the run. If you play in the Big Ten, you have to be able to play the run. You know that right away, especially if you're a middle linebacker. And he's very good in coverage. Joseph Taifa, who was out of Texas, San Antonio, where Marcus Davenport comes from.
I couldn't even pronounce his name, but yes, you did well there.
Taifa, I'm saying. I'm guessing. He's also a middle linebacker, very productive in college, and he looks like a guy who might make this team also. So you see, they're trying to build up guys like you always wanted, guys who produced something in college. They're putting them on the roster, or hope to put them on the roster. Guys who play a lot and can hit the field running. No projects, right?
The projects become just wishful thinking. You're trying to fit that we've always talked about for years now, you and I. Stop sticking a square peg into a round hole. Projects don't help the greater picture.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and there's a whole bunch of kids here that I don't know. Obviously, you can only keep 53, but I won't even get into some of them. Like C.J. Conrad is a guy who has a chance to make the team. Some of the linemen they drafted. One guy already got hurt. This kid, Nate Harvey from Eastern Carolina. He's already out for the year. Hurt his knee. That's what happens sometimes. There's a center they signed from the University of Buffalo, a kid from Long Island by the name of James O'Hagan. He looks like a pretty good prospect. They don't really need a center, but it's always good to if you can find a center, hang on to him.
Yeah.
Always. Jacob Thieneman from Purdue, a safety, looks like another guy that might be helpful on special teams. Wow, I mean, there's a lot here. John Hillman, a running back from Rutgers, he's a real rough and tumble running back. I don't know if he'll make the team. They have Rob Martin from last year. And, he was on the practice squad for a while. He's another Rutgers guy, right?
Anderson?
No, Rob Martin from Robert Martin.
Yeah. They've got a couple guys that they signed from Rutgers. It's
the punter is Anderson. It's always good to have two punters in camp.
Yeah, Hillman's a Rutgers guy, and the punter Anderson's a Rutgers guy. So yeah,
I don't know if he'll beat out Riley Dixon, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. But at least Rutgers is getting some respect.
Yeah, Rutgers gets a lot of respect from Bill Belichick and the Giants. They love their Rutgers guys. The McCourty brothers.
Yep.
A few other players. All right, so let's move on a little bit. The rookies who could make an impact. I wrote an article about which rookies do you think could make the all-rookie team?
Oh, that's a good question.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, if you think about it, the only player that's going to get significant, well, two. I mean, Lawrence and Baker are the only two I could see that would get enough snaps. Because like Connolly's going to have to fight for every snap he gets, right? Love is interesting, but special teams maybe comes in as a nickel. I mean, Lawrence and Baker, the only two I would even think that would even be able to be put in that conversation just purely from a snap standpoint. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. The two corners that we talked about, Love and Baker and Lawrence, unless Jones plays from day one.
Which would be highly unlikely. But yeah, let's say, I would have to say, just looking at the list of guys drafted, again, Lawrence is drafted with the 17th pick. It's a first-round draft pick. We've already talked about your first-round draft pick's got to be a plug-and-play guy. Mm-hmm. So he's going to get the snaps, and we've already alluded to the fact that the coaching staff and the general manager feel he could be a three-down guy, so he can move to the outside. And he's going to basically replace Snacks and free up Tomlinson to move to a different spot to the outside.
Right.
I'm not sure. I think what holds me back on Lawrence is what you said before, is about being gassed. These guys play, there's a lot more commitment from a time standpoint. It's, a lot more intense. Can he keep up conditioning? He's a big dude, moving a lot of weight. Can he play 3 downs every game? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, I'm just thinking about if he can play defensive end or not, like we talked about that already. So what do you think of maybe Ryan Connolly or somebody like that?
See, but Connolly, though, like, he's got to have to come into camp and beat Goodson straight out. Because I don't see them, like, when you look at how the Giants play their defense, you don't see Ogletree and Goodson getting subbed out in many packages. So Connolly, to become an all-rookie team, he'd have to literally come in and make Goodson look bad. Pick up the playbook from scratch and literally just hit a bunch of guys in the mouth.
Because if Goodson can stay on the field.
Well, and that was my kind of what I was thinking was, it's not out of the question because Goodson, I make fun of him that he's made of glass, but he does tend to get nicked up and he is down a lot. Connolly could step in and never relinquish that position. I don't know how complex Betcher's defense is. I don't know how complex it is or what type of learning capacity he has, the curve. Because when you think about positions, certain positions from college to pros is a lot easier. Like they always say, running back is one of the easier ones, quarterback's one of the harder ones. I don't know about the curve for Connolly. If he gets an opportunity, I think he could definitely take it because, again, is he a 3-down back? I don't know. You've alluded to him being good in coverage. I know I've seen a couple of highlight reels and some games where he shoots gaps real well, and he's an intelligent kid. Like you said, he walked on. Mm-hmm. His got a little bit more uphill battle to win that spot. I think it would, more than anyone, it's Baker. Baker comes in and starts and literally could make like defensive rookie of the year if he wanted to be.
Right.
He has got that kind of potential. He's already got that kind of swag and that, in his step. He could come right in and be a superstar from day one if he wins the spot.
No, I agree. We'll see. I mean, it's all just so new right now. I mean, the speculation, we're off the charts with some of this stuff, and we're in the high weeds, as they say, still. And I need to see more with some of these rookies. Even a guy like Corey Ballantyne could come in and impress. Who knows? You know how it is in camp. Guy comes in, looks good, then they try him somewhere else. They give him some more reps, and the next thing you know, he's closer to a starting position. And then the next thing you know, he's a star. Right?
That's true. It could happen. I mean, again, if you think about it, we traded up for Baker. The expectations are going to be high.
Yeah, I mean, there's very high expectations for all the first rounders and the second round. But we didn't have a second round, actually, the third round. Zimenez, there's a lot riding on him as well. He could be a guy who comes in, gets 10 sacks. What if he makes the all-rookie team with that? I'm aiming high here. So
if we who did you say was going to get 10 sacks or
Zimenez.
Can get? If that kid gets 10 sacks out of the gate, Gettleman looks like a genius.
But he has the ability to do it. It's just getting the opportunity.
I'm just saying, if you get 10 sacks out of Carter and 10 sacks out of
Carter had 5.5 sacks. He only played half the down, so
that's what I'm saying.
Times that by 2.
If you had Carter and how do I pronounce it?
Zimenez.
Yeah. If they had 10 sacks apiece, literally, like me, I'm the biggest complainer on pass rush. I'd have nothing to say. If you had two guys with 10 sacks apiece, I would be in my glory.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine that?
No, I can't. That's why I'm shocked. When you said it, my eyes lit up. I'm like, man, can you actually imagine two guys with 10 sacks each? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, and they're thinking that the push up the middle with the defensive line they have, the push on the line is going to open up the pass rush. They think Lawrence could be a pass rusher up the middle of the field. So we'll see.
Here's my segue question. Just because of time frame,
we got to get to Twitter.
Yeah, I'm saying, you want me to launch into a couple of these?
Yeah,
I'll give them to you rapid fire, and you blow through them in 30 seconds or less.
All right, good.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Hang on, I'm getting through it. Okay. Why isn't Harry Carson's number retired? Should we even care?
Yes, we should. Because he played his whole career for the Giants, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Okay, so he's a Hall of Fame Giant. And you should retire their number. They retired a lot of numbers of people who aren't in the Hall of Fame. Way before now. I mean, way back when. The guy died in the war, played 1 year for the Giants, they retired his number. Al Bloss is his name. Not that he didn't deserve it, but, he was number 32. I talked to Carson about it, didn't really want to talk about it. It's kind of like a sore point with him because he retired Sims and Taylor and Sims, and not him. He retired Frank Gifford, and not him. Now, Frank Gifford was a great Giant, so was Harry Carson. They're both in the Hall of Fame, right? They're both very visible after their careers. Carson's always around. Michael Strahan may get his number retired. We haven't seen any movement towards that. But nobody's worn 92, right?
Correct.
People are wearing 53. Zimenez is wearing 53.
Correct.
He's wearing it right now. Brandon Short was 53. He was the first one to wear it after Harry Carson. He held it for a while.
All right, next one. Next one comes from Giant Joe. He says, G-Man seemed thin at linebacker. Do you agree? If so, what are the viable options to strengthen those positions? And do you think Connolly will be part of the rotation?
Yes, we talked about that. Goodson stays healthy. He's going to have a good year. He's a good player, Goodson. Problem is he's never healthy. Ogletree has to get better against the run. He was good against the pass last year. Okay, the problem they had with their linebackers is that Collins was really a linebacker. He was playing in the box. He was actually closer to the line of scrimmage than some of the linebackers were on most plays. So now that they have legitimate traditional safety play, the linebackers are going to step up. They're going to be in position to make plays. They're going to have, like I said, you saw a kid like this, McLaurin, guys like that. Stupar forget about him. Conley is going to be in there. All right, this Taifa could be in there. We're talking about rotation. On the outside, we already talked about the guys on the outside. Carter, Zimenez, Golden. All right, I mean, they've got enough bodies. I think they're set. They could probably use one more. Maybe they'll pick up a free agent now that it's not, anybody you signed won't be included in the comp pick formula.
All right, next one up.
Did I answer that?
Yeah. With Beckham gone, do we feel there will be an increase of workload on Barkley?
Yes. I think Barkley's going to get, even if Beckham was here, he'd get an increase. Because they realize he can handle it, and they're going to really have to lean on him. Especially if Jones plays. If Jones plays, he's going to be handing off. More than Eli would be handing off.
Right.
Just a guess.
Okay. Who's going to be the number 5 receiver?
Wow. Well, who's going to be the number 1 receiver? Let's start with that.
Well, I guess we're going.
You got Shepard and Tate. They're like
Shepard,
1 and 1A.
Shepard, Tate, and Latimer.
You got Latimer. And who else you got?
Coleman.
Corey Coleman. He's basically a returner. The kid they just drafted, Slayton, got a long way to go. He dropped a lot of passes in minicamp. Then he recovered.
Does that mean White may be able to surpass Slayton?
It's possible. Well, it's like I said, it's very early. I mean, Monmouth produces some pretty good receivers, as we know.
Yeah, one we could have signed, by the way.
And it's still not out of the question.
He got signed by Carolina.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's right.
For anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about Hogan from the Patriots, Division One, Penn State lacrosse player, had some eligibility, went hometown Monmouth, and bounced around the NFL before Belichick, brought him in. Let's see if I have any other ones. I think that's all I got for right now.
That's it?
Well, there's other ones, but they're all over the place. One of them wants to know how many people have worn number 53 since Carson. I'm like, well, I'd have to do the research on that one.
I just named one of them, Brandon Short. I'm sure there was others. After the first guy wears it, you're anesthetized to it. You don't really care anymore.
Yeah. Do we feel that Jones was a premature pick?
Yes.
Let's see. Let's see. Will Martin start?
Martin who? Martin Short?
Martin, our outside linebacker.
Kareem Martin.
Kareem Martin.
That's a good question. I don't know. Start where? I mean, he could play end and he could play linebacker.
Because he did start last year. He was the starting outside linebacker.
Yeah. I don't know. They're going to try not to. They're going to try to replace him. He's going to be a rotational player. It doesn't really matter who starts. Guys are going to be shuttling in and out.
The next one I got, and again, it's the last coherent one, is if Loletta gets cut, will Jones switch back to 17?
That I don't know. I hope he doesn't. But I hope he doesn't. No questions about the biggest glaring hole on the roster.
I'm looking, but remember, people don't look at this stuff like we do. So like they just listen, I can give you a list of Jones questions like nonstop. Like people are still fixated on the quarterback thing.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. I have confidence that this kid can play because if Pat Shermer thinks he could play, that means he thinks he can run his offense. And it's all about pass protection. And if they get themselves a decent right tackle, they'll have that pass protection.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some talk on here about who's going to start at right tackle. Is Peppers cleared of his legal problems?
That I think he is, yeah. From what I read, he is. Nobody's talked about it for a while, so.
So what is so tell me about let's focus before we sign off. About the glaring hole you mentioned? Let's air it out before we go.
Right tackle. Right now you got Chad Wheeler. Probably one of the lowest rated tackles in the league. Maybe the lowest rated tackle in the league.
Well, then why is everybody presuming we're going to sign, what do you call it, from Minnesota?
Mike Remmers. He has to pass a physical first, which he's not ready to do.
When you say not ready,
he's still rehabbing.
Okay.
So there's no sense in giving him a physical. So there's no sense in signing him. You can't sign a guy who fails a physical. You can, but you know.
Does he want to come to the Giants? Like, why are we rumored to get him? Just because of the Schumer connection?
Yeah, the connection with Shermer.
Sure. Yeah, because yeah. I'm assuming Shermer and him got to have some type of relationship.
They do. Yeah, he played for Shermer in Minnesota, and he played the tackle. They moved him to guard. He didn't do so well, and he got hurt. So if he could play right tackle, he'd be a natural for this offense. And I don't see any other teams looking at him. So, but like I said, he has to pass a physical, and a lot of teams aren't, pursuing that. Till that happens, he's going to be on the sidelines. And now they just, in the 7th round, George Asafo-Ajayi, the kid from Kentucky, who they really liked because one of the Giants' coaches' sons is at Kentucky. And he said this guy's the most respected player on their offensive huddle. So when they drafted him in the 7th round, the kid's 6'5", 310. Very smart kid. He's a New York kid, and they really like the way he handled himself. He practiced against Josh Allen every day in practice. And in the SEC, you got a lot of edge rushers. You got Montez Sweat. You got a few other guys. Polite. He handled them all. So think about that. You can get a 7th round gem here. Then, like I said, this kid from Missouri, Paul Adams. He's another kid that's going to get a shot there. So you have options. You have people trying out for this position.
What's interesting to me about the position is that everybody's hot on Remmers. And I don't have any problems with Remmers, but what does stick out to me is the guy's been on 7 teams. How good can he be?
Well, when he was at his best, he was with Shermer.
Think about it.
No, I understand. He's been all over the league. Yeah.
Yeah. Broncos 2012, Bucks 13, Chargers 13, Vikings 13, Rams 14, Panthers 15, 16, Vikings 17, 18. He doesn't stick a whole lot of places.
No, he doesn't. But he didn't stick in Minnesota either. They cut him. But that's basically because of the injury. He was waived injured. So
yeah.
But that's we'll see if he gets here. He could get beat out by one of these young guys.
Well, I mean, Wheeler definitely needs competition. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. All right, man. So let's wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for listening. We should be back next week with another show. Hopefully, we'll have some more answers for you. Right now, there's a lot of things that need to be tied up. There's a lot of open questions with the Giants. We don't have the answers because there aren't any. Believe me, if there were, we'd tell you. So, Craig, anything you want to close with?
Just that the Giants fans, I'm seeing a lot of now. Twitter's only a slice of the fan base, but guys, enough of the we're divided over the Jones thing. Look, it's football, it's entertainment. Let's just put it on a shelf, root for the same team, back the kid up, support who we have, and move on. Eli's going to be here for a year. Let's just, look, guys, it's an 8-8 season if everything goes the Giants' way, okay? It's an 8-8 season. Let's have a little fun with it. Root on the guys that we have, support the guys we have, and and move forward. We're not going to Super Bowl next year. So let's kind of unite, instead of bickering with each other and the back and forth is, and the negativity. It's not needed. You can find me at nygiantsrush.com and the writers, and of course on Twitter at nygiantsrush.
All right, folks, until next week, this is the Giants guys, and thanks for listening.